Where were your father's mother and father? Where was your grandmother? Where was Effie, Grandma Effie, born? Do you remember?
I have no idea. But somewhere back in her, well, I'm not sure whether it's her side or my grandfather's, but part of them, they traced them back to England.
Mm-hmm.
So I know, and it's probably on the Smith side, I think, and I think it's probably my grandmother's side. My grandfather, or, well, I really don't know either way.
William Harrison.
Yeah.
And, okay, I wrote down here, it says, describe the kind of persons they were. I remember Grandma Effie as being very nice and grandmotherly.
Yeah.
And
She's on the heavy side.
uh-huh. I noted on here she was round.
Yeah, round and good.
Yeah. And your grandfather, William, did you call him William?
I don't know what they called him. I called him Grandpa.
Just called him Grandpa? And he used to take you to pick potatoes?
Yeah, I have vivid memories of going out the garden and pulling up potatoes, yellow potatoes. I said, okay, here it is. He says, you haven't dug for them all. Keep digging.
Do you remember when he died? He wasn't alive when I was around.
I think it was after they moved to California, but I'm not sure.
You know, just old age or?
I have no idea.
Something?
I think it was just old age. Well, wait a minute now. My grandmother died of stomach cancer. I'm not sure about my grandfather. I just don't know. Don't make any sense to guess. It don't do anybody any good.
Yeah. What kind of work did your father's parents do? What kind of work did
They were, when I knew them, they were farmers. Kansas farmers.
Farmers in Kansas. Do you remember what they farmed?
I sure don't.
Like vegetables and corn and...
No, I know they raised corn, and probably that was it.
Yeah.
They had, the family farm, you know, in those days, they did a little bit of everything. A big garden, and usually a root cellar, and they always had a cow or something to butcher in the fall, and a pig to butcher in the fall. And of course they put up hay for the feed, but a typical farmer in those days was not specialized. I mean, they did a little bit of everything.
Just whatever it took to take to market.
Yeah.
Every fall.
Yeah. Of course, I'm sure the farm they had was not big enough to support the whole family, because my dad went off, left home and worked in the coal mines. He's a miner.
Oh, that's right. He worked in coal mines too.
Yeah. I don't know whether my grandfather did or not, but I would assume that he probably did also.
Oh, that's right. Your father worked in the coal mines.
Okay. My father.
Okay. Do you know where Ninny was born?
I haven't decided
Where she
yet.
grew up?
No.
No.
She would not talk about herself that way. Just would not.
Okay, no,
I imagine you tried to talk to her.
I'm sure I probably did when I was a kid, and I just don't remember anything. That might be why.
Would never tell us anything.
Huh. What memories do you have of your mother during your marriage? I wrote down here that you thought she was very domineering with your father.
Yeah.
And she was very
I think my father would rather give in than argue with her.
Yeah.
Oh, she was stubborn. She had to have her way all the time.
Was she heavy on the discipline and stuff like that? Do you remember? Or?
Yeah. Oh, she's very strict with us kids.
Yeah.
My father never punished us. It was always my mother.
Very interesting. Ninny didn't work, did she? In or out of the house when you were young?
Not that I know of.
Yeah.
I don't remember her ever working.
Did she do anything hobby-wise? Did she sew or?
She did sew, and she was the type of person that every spring she'd take everything out of the house, the carpets, rugs off the floor, hang them on the clothesline, get out there with a beater and beat them for hours to get the dust out of them. and she tried to get us kids to do it. And we got tired real quick. That was a boring thing.
Yeah. Spring cleaning. I can remember those days with my mother.
And while the carpets were off the floor, she'd paint every room in the house,
Oh my
the
God.
ceilings, walls, everything. And of course, in those days, instead of paint, they called it calcimine, and it was not sheetrock. It was sort of a composition like cardboard. And the calcimine was just a powder they mixed in water, and it come in different colors.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes she'd get two colors and get a natural sponge. And she'd, after the first color had dried, then she'd take the sponge and dip it in this stuff and dab it on there to get a texture effect, you know.
Cool.
And no, she went to a lot of work that way. She was very, very
She worked
ambitious.
there. She should have been an interior decorator. I can remember on the homestead how she
Yeah,
she built her cupboards and painted them
yeah,
so pretty.
always had to change things.
Always had knickknacks and pretty things.
But that goes back to my earliest memories that she was that way.
Yeah. She's probably one of the first people that ever invented sponge painting, though. You know, now it's a real popular thing to...
I guess they still use it?
Yeah, oh yeah. It was just come back where people make on all your home magazines.
When you turn the sponge, you know, you get a different design as you rotate it.
Teach you how to sponge paint. Yeah.
And of course, in those days, they didn't have wall-to-wall carpeting. It was all like a throw carpet. And the edges, she'd buy carpet. They called them carpet tacks. And she'd tack one edge down on the wooden floors. We'd all get on the other side and pull it as tight as we could, and she'd go through and tack it down.
Oh, you darn.
But it was nothing like these, you know, and it wasn't thick. There was never any padding.
Yeah,
It always had a design on it.
So then in the fall, she'd have to untack it? Or did she just not clean those? She only cleaned the ones, beat the ones that were not tacked
Well,
out?
there's no such thing as vacuum cleaners then.
Yeah.
In fact, we never had electricity till I was probably 12, 14. And she just used a broom to sweep it.
That's the broom. Okay, let's see. How's the pages going? Do you feel like you inherited any of your mom's physical and personality characteristics? Or do you feel like you're more like your dad?
I think I'm more like my mother, and Wayne was more like my dad.
Yeah?
Laid back, real easygoing. Never lost his temper. Very even all the time. I think I'm more high-strung like my mother was.
You like things neat and tidy, and then
Yeah,
he liked things
yeah,
neat and tidy?
Yeah,
Perfection?
yeah. I think I probably inherited most of... And Keith was quite a bit like her, too.
Yeah.
Keith and I were more like Wayne. Wayne was the oddball.
Yeah, just real laid back. Did she experience much sadness or tragedy while you were little? How did she deal with it? Do you remember it's kind of a weird question. She probably, I mean, the kind of life she had to live couldn't have been conducive to a whole lot of happiness, knowing how she had all her sisters and her brother close by, so.
Well, after I was born, I was probably maybe 3 or 4 years old. In fact, probably older than that, because I went to first grade in Kansas. And after that, we moved to Wyoming. And I never seen any of my mother's relatives after that.
I should get a list of all of them.